How would it feel to retire at age 31? I'll be talking with Matt McKeever. We'll hear his story on how he achieved that through real estate. Cue intro. What's up, Fruitful Investors? So I'm here with Matt McKeever.
Hey guys.
He's going to be sharing his story on how he retired at age 31. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's just get right into it. So how did you achieve this crazy, amazing goal?
Yeah, so it wasn't always on my radar. It was probably, once I started my first real job, so that was around 23, graduated university, I was on the path to become a CPA, a CA, a chartered accountant here in Canada. And essentially, once I started that day job, I knew I couldn't do a day job for the next 30, 40 years. I didn't want to work until I was 65. So I needed to figure a way out. And the first thing I started focusing on was I stumbled upon all these awesome blogs and books and different concepts. And what it really comes down to is you need to be able to grow the gap between what you're making and what you're spending and save the difference. And so for myself, real estate, like Matt, was what drew me to the idea of actually being able to create passive income, the idea of being able to build out a portfolio and replace my day job. And so it just kind of started one property at a time. So I bought my first property at 25. It was a student rental property, had great cash flow. And then I kind of bought a property a year for the next few years with partners, same as Matt did. And then in 2015, when I was 30, is when I discovered the idea of BRRRRs. And so BRRRR is a buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And so the idea was I'd start buying these underappreciated properties that were in disrepair, properties that really had some problem tenants, go in there, fix them up, usually through strategic renovations. So like just paint, flooring, the basics, really not getting too fancy. But then I could refinance the property once I had re-rented it out at a higher level, access all that new equity, and then use that money and go buy the next property. And so what was special there was, you know, in 2010, 2011, 2012, when I was buying property a year, I was really held back to how much money I could save up each year. And so I could never really scale my actions, where the moment I figured out how to speed up the velocity of my money, that's what really gave me the ability and the power to quit my job at 31. And so it was really important to me. I hadn't actually planned on quitting at 31, but what ended up happening was I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. And so there was a lot of acquisitions, mergers. Hillary Clinton put out a tweet that destroyed our market cap. It was a publicly traded company. And anyways, long story short, my position and the company I was working for got acquired, and it became apparent that we were going to be reduced. We were a redundancy now. They wanted to get scales of efficiency. And I found myself surrounded, you know, at the corporate table with a bunch of VPs and other departments, and realized that every one of these guys and these women that are 50, 60 years old, they were scared for their life. They couldn't stand up to some of the bad business practices that were going on. And so literally what happened was, for a week straight, someone came in and made my AP clerk, the person working under me, cry every single day. And the reason she was crying is because she didn't have control of her financial life. Like, she wasn't able to tell them essentially to go f*** off. And so the awesome thing was I hadn't fully built my parachute at that time, but I came to the realization that I didn't need a job, that with frugality, through careful spending, by reprioritizing what was special and important and what was adding value to my life, that I could actually quit the rat race. And so I did.
So there's a ton of great tips Matt just gave in there. Number one is frugality. Matt's probably one of the most frugal people I know, which is fantastic. That's how you're able to save and invest in real estate. And that's something that a lot of people don't do very well. They're very short-term sighted. You know, they get their paycheck, they buy the boat, they buy the fancy Mustang, when they shouldn't be doing those things. You know, that's something you do later. But that's really one way to start, you know, hacking the money you are making, is to be frugal and spend it on wise things like assets. If you noticed, Matt is buying one property a year, right? That's so achievable. Look what he achieved. He was able to retire at age 31, or have the option of retirement. You know, he's still killing it and hustling, but at least he had that option, right? Like when the job wasn't going very well, he could say, screw it, I'm just gonna quit, which is something a lot of people can't do. They need that paycheck. They're relying on that paycheck every 2 weeks.
And it's actually scary if you think about it, because you only have one source of income.
That's bad.
Where with us, with our rental properties, each property is a different source of income. So one vacancy doesn't destroy us. We're literally one job loss destroys the average person's financial future. And you know, we've experienced some really dynamic times recently, and so there's a lot less loyalty in business these days. You don't work for the same company for 30 or 40 years and then get the gold watch. And so I think it's really important that people start taking control of their financial lives, start really focusing on how they can get control. And so the best way is growing the gap. So you either need to increase your income, decrease your expenses, or ideally do both at the same time.
That's one thing I always talk about on this channel. You guys need to raise your income, okay? So if you are employed with just a regular job, keep doing that job, but do like a side business, invest in real estate, flip houses. So eventually that side business can take over your actual job, which as you know, as I say all the time, if you're working a regular job, there's no way you're gonna be rich or wealthy. It's just never gonna happen. You need to make a ton of money and quickly so you can buy even more assets that make more money on the side. So when you're making money in the background on each property, plus your business, you might have 2 or 3 businesses, you're flipping properties, you're a realtor, you're a mortgage broker, you're a plumber, whatever. You have so many streams of income, and that's how you really take advantage and kind of break the matrix, what I always say, to just hack your way through and live life on your terms, right? Like Matt was saying, a lot of people in his workplace were terrified if they lost their job, if that merger didn't go through. They were out of a job, they had kids, they had families that were gonna be suffering from that job loss. Whereas if you're doing something, investing in something, it doesn't always have to be real estate. It could be businesses, stocks, cryptocurrencies, whatever your thing is, you want something in the background making you passive income. Passive income is the way to true wealth, right?
100% agree. And so what really inspired me was a book called The Early Retirement Extreme book. And so right now, just comment on this video of Matt's, and I'll pick someone randomly and I'll send you a DM.
Nice.
We'll figure it out through Instagram, and I want to mail you that book. I've given over 100 copies of that book already because that book gave me my financial freedom. That book gave me my financial future, and I honestly want to pay it forward.
Yeah, that's great. So what tip would you give to someone who's just starting out? Maybe they're 20 years old, 22 years old, they're just out of college, or maybe they don't want to go to college. What's the best tip you can give someone that young who has a zero net worth, they have $0 in anything? What can they do to kind of get this momentum going for financial freedom?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is figure out what's actually adding value to your life. I think a lot of us just find ourselves on the default path, and so we just do what everyone else tells us. So you graduate university, you go out buy a new car, you get a new apartment, you get new furniture for your new apartment, and all that stuff's setting you back at a very critical time. If you can instead be focusing on acquiring assets and building that up, live like no one else today so that you can live like no one else tomorrow, I think is huge. But if you guys want something a little bit more practical, let's say that you want to get into real estate investing, you got no money, and you don't have patience either. I think in that case, you need to find the deals. And so you need to focus on acquiring as much information as possible. Find a fantastic deal, and if you get that fantastic deal, the money will come to you, right?
Yeah, the money will come either through a partner, or even if you want to wholesale that deal. There's people like me in Kitchener-Waterloo. I'm always looking for deals. So if you send an investor like me a deal and we buy it from you, you can make easily $5, $10, $15, $20,000 on one transaction. Where most people are making 30 grand a year, right? What's the average income in Canada? 35,000 a year. You can make way more than that now just on one real estate deal. Imagine you're doing 4, 5, 10. That's how you scale, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing goes. You can even, instead of getting that wholesale fee, you can leverage that into just probably a 50% partnership. And that's something that's going to pay you forever. I think that's extremely powerful, and it's something that just a lot of people think it's impossible, but there's effort involved, but if you put in the work, you'll get the results.
Definitely. So me and Matt actually met through YouTube, so you really want to take advantage of these kind of social media platforms to meet other like-minded people. But he actually messaged me through YouTube. We met, we had a little challenge where who could get to 500 subscribers first. I beat him there, but he's swamped me now, and way more than that.
It's crazy to think back though, right? Because I think you were around 350 subscribers at the time. I was at 250, and I can remember being like, man, I wish I had 350 subscribers. That'd be so awesome.
Now looking at him, I'm like, man, I want that 10K on my little thing there.
But the key is we both just kept putting in the work, right? We just kept releasing videos every week consistently. And the same idea applies to if you're looking to acquire deals, right? You need to be knocking on doors, you need to send out flyers, you need to make cold calls. And it's not going to happen overnight, just like it didn't happen overnight for our YouTube channel. But if you keep putting in the reps, you will get the results.
Especially if you provide value, right? Which is when we started off with nothing, just making YouTube videos.
Give.
Free education, and that's how we met each other. We met other real estate investors. Now we're doing deals with those investors. The whole key, and you've heard me say it so many times on my channel, the key to life really is value, right? The world of money is completely changing. How we make money is completely changing. It's not about hourly wages anymore or how many hours I put in. It's how much value can I add? And you get paid directly by how much value you provide. So the more we're giving with YouTube videos, the more deals we're getting, and that's how we can really scale our income and buy more properties and get even wealthier and richer, right? 100%. So there's something you really want to focus on is giving more and more value. Alright guys, so that's the end of the video. If you liked it, if you learned anything, please click like right below to get access to my 12 free video series. You can check that out in the link below. You definitely want to check out Matt McKeever. Go to his channel. He has a ton of financial tips, like tons of videos that he can show you more into his background, how to invest in real estate, how to be frugal and save money, etc. So great resource. Check out Matt McKeever.
Smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell.
Yeah, definitely want to stay on these channels, both of our channels, and to get access to my real estate investing apprenticeship program, about how you can find out how you can partner with me and you can buy deals like this that I'm sitting in. You can find out more about that by clicking right about here. We'll see you in the next videos.
Thanks guys.